Darian Durant joining us. Okay, Maz, are we going to start CFL? And then, because my blood pressure, I don't want it to get started the show, come down a bit. Let's start CFL first off. You wanted to ask him.
First of all, we're going to start with Darian. You were on the injured list last week. Are you feeling better? Can we put you back in the starting lineup? Do we got to get you a shot in the training room before the interview? Like, what are we doing here? Like, are you good to go?
Yeah. I have to go in and get the cortisone. I have to get numbed up a little bit because it was a pretty severe hit. I took a pretty severe hit and put me down for a second. But with a little bit of cortisone, I'm good to go and ready for the second half.
Nice. So what are we starting? What are we doing? Are we starting NFL, CFL?
About the Calgary. You wanted to ask him about the Calgary guys.
Okay, so here's the thing, Darian, and you watched a lot of football. I don't know if these guys would have been playing when you were still playing, but today the Calgary Stampeders just released Mike Rose and James Voddards, D-end and D-line. And to me, I always like them as Stampeders. And if they're going to be shaking free, what did you think of them when they were playing? I thought they were good guys, and valuable guys.
Yeah, I think they both are very, very good players. They both can get after the quarterback, and more than anything, they're more of your heavier type defensive end, so they're solid against the run game. I think with this move, Calgary's just looking to get more speed. They're looking to get faster, get some guys on defense who can cause some havoc and get after the quarterback. So I think this is a good move because you need turnovers and you need guys to have double-digit sacks. I think if you look across the league in general has just been down in sacks. So Calgary's trying to go in that direction.
How about this signing today by the Riders? Shane Ray comes in. The guy's got a Super Bowl ring. He's played.
Yeah.
He's got a Super Bowl ring and a Grey Cup ring. Good signing on the D-line for the Riders or what?
We'll see. I think we'll see. I mean, he's 31 years old. We'll see how much gas he has left in the tank. Usually, especially for defensive ends, unless you're a Charleston Hughes or Odell Willis type guys who've been at it consistently, you tend to slow down in your 30s as a defensive end. So we'll see. I think that, there's definitely potential there. He doesn't have a lot of wear and tear on his body because he's been traveling a lot and, bouncing around from team to team. So if he has that spark there, if he has that jump, I think it'll be a great signing for the Riders.
So in like a week's time, the legal tampering period will start for CFL free agents. And I want to get to your CFL free agent tampering experience. I don't know. Maybe you're removed long enough and you don't care.
2020 it started.
But so here's my top 3 free agents if I'm playing general manager of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Now keep in mind, I'm not worried about money because we'll make it up at the gate, and when we win the Grey Cup, there's nothing but pats on the back and the money flows in. So, and keep in mind, this is going to change our team dynamic too, how we construct a roster. So Geno Lewis is number 1. It's our wide receiver that Darian said we needed from the very first time we had him on the radio, and legit number 1 wide receiver. Then I'm going Tyrell Ford for our secondary from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, free agent, Canadian, going to change the ratio. And then Jake Serezna, another D-end, a Canadian, who had an okay year in Toronto last year, but was really good with the Eskimos. Once again, Canadian, allowing us to change the ratio. Darian, if you're controlling the purse strings from the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who's your top free agent coming off the board if you get to spend the money?
Well, you said it. The first guy, and I love this guy, and that's Eugene Lewis. He's just a game changer. It doesn't matter where you are on the field. You have to respect him as a defense. And, sometimes he's double covered. He's the best 50-50 ball guy in the league. And he's just a game changer from, the first quarter on. I love Geno Lewis. And next, I'm going to go with a sleeper guy, and a guy I think that could really, really change the game for the Riders, and that's Darian Durant. And, that's not to say I don't love Mario Alford. I do. I think he's a great player. But there's just something special about Grant. Even when he was with Winnipeg, he was just a game changer. He could flip the field at any given time. I think the Riders need playmakers. I mean, I want to see them score more points. I want to see them jump ahead of teams. And I want to see teams have to come back from behind against the Riders. So I think you need playmakers across the board. And what better way to do it with Geno Lewis on offense and Janarion Grant at special teams. And he showed in the Grey Cup that you can make packages for him on offense, and he can make plays there as well. So I love Janarion Grant.
What's he worth in your mind? If we could play, if it's a Monopoly or a video game, Stratomatic football, what would he be worth in your mind, Darian, cash-wise?
You know what? I'm not sure what returners are making these days. I would say, between 125 and 175, somewhere in that range, I think will be good for a guy like that. I mean, look, touchdowns are hard to come by. And whenever you can find guys that can score touchdowns and put points on the board, these guys are game changers. And sometimes you don't really need to look at your pocketbook, and you need to look at what a guy can do for your team. You can structure deals. You can get things done to take care of players. But whenever you have these type of playmakers in free agency, I think you can be pretty creative and try to get these guys on board.
One of the things I thought when we chatted a couple of weeks ago, because we were talking about staying within the salary cap and being fiscally responsible, nobody ever cares or remembers. They only remember winning. So in 2013, I'm not sure if the Saskatchewan Roughriders were over the salary cap. And as a fan, I don't care. We won the Grey Cup. The memories last forever. The minutia and the fine point details of that are kind of like, because you know this. You're judged in sports by championships. How many you win, or Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills, how many you may never win. So, and winning is kind of all what we care about. Do you think that the Riders are going to be dipping heavy into the free agents this time around? Because some teams don't. Where do you think the Riders are going to make a splash?
I think so. I really do. I mean, ticket sales were down. I think you want to get the fans back engaged and feeling really, really good about where you are as a team. And, whenever you have a chance to win, that window is small. And I feel like the window is kind of closing on the Riders. You have Trevor Harris getting up there in age. There's a time limit on all groups and all teams that you put together. And I think for this team, the way it's been built, you have to go in. You have to go all in now. And you look at Winnipeg. I think they're, maybe on their last leg with this group that they have. They're going to go all in with. And you have to be able to compete. I mean, Nathan Rourke is back in BC. Vernon Adams is going to Calgary, and I think Edmonton will be better as well. So, you have to stack the team. You have to make sure you have guys in place to compete with these teams, and you better go all in now. And because everyone seems strong in the West, and it's going to be tough to get out of the West if you can't put points on the board.
How hard is it, Darian? And I don't know how they scout, and I don't know what camps they go to. We have the Combine coming up here. How difficult is it in 2025 to find a diamond in the rough somewhere in the United States? Like, I know it's kind of like up here with senior hockey. Like, guys still play down there locally. There's men's leagues and all that. Am I holding out hope? Like, are there some guys that maybe fell through the cracks? Maybe it was an attitude thing. Maybe it was a legal whatever. Are there guys out there that can be found like that?
You know what? I think you can. You have to do your due diligence. You have to have a lot of scouts in place at some of these free agent camps and all-star games. There's some all-star games going on in the NCAA right now where there's some guys who just won't get an opportunity in the NFL and it could potentially be great CFL players. So you have to have the right staff as far as scouts go. You have to have everyone on the same page, and you have to have a design plan looking at specific positions and knowing what you need to improve your team. I don't think you need to go and just look at all players. I think you need to look at your team specifically and see what you need to improve on, and then go after those guys year after year.
All right. Are we going to switch gears to the NFL? Because it was around Thanksgiving in October, and we had you on, and you said there's something special about this Jaden Daniels. He's just got it all.
Yeah.
You had said, just watch, like he's going to get better. And then how it played out. Now, Cinderella stories usually end with them hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. To me, I think Washington and the Jaden Daniels story was a Cinderella story for what they were able to achieve. You called it. So what did you see back then that we all see now? What was that one thing that you saw in him?
It's something called it and the it factor. I mean, there's nothing specifically that you can just pinpoint about his game and say, oh, well, he's just head and shoulders above the other quarterbacks in this specific category. It's just that when you get into a game and you have to make plays and, you have to make throws under pressure, he can throw from all arm angles. He can, he runs fast enough to get away from DBs. I mean, he just has that it factor. And it's just something you can't coach. And it's something that, I don't want to give myself too much credit, but being a quarterback and kind of believing that I had the it factor, I wasn't a wild guy, but I just had, enough to get it done. And I can kind of see that in him. And I saw it early on. I saw it at LSU, and I knew that, when he could get with a coach like Dan Quinn and OC like Cliff Kingsbury, they can bring out the best in him. So, he's going to be a special player. And once he gets more weapons around him, you're going to have to watch out for this Washington team.
Okay. Do you want to go back? Do you want to go to that game, Maz, or can we go to the other one?
Well, let's start there. Now, keep in mind, Darian, yesterday, the turnovers did the Commanders in. They didn't help themselves, but when Philly scores on the very first play on offense, a 60-yard touchdown, I think a lot of us thought it could be a long day for Washington. Philly looked dominant. They looked... they finally... Jaden, everybody, it all came together. They looked so good.
Yeah, I mean, I said it. I said this when they acquired Saquon Barkley, and this is the kind of the same, vision I have for the Saskatchewan Roughriders is that when you can get explosive playmakers and guys that can make game-changing plays, you become such a dominant team and a dangerous team that, you put not only do you put physical pressure on other teams, but just mentally knowing that you have to score with this team, it puts that mental pressure on you as well. So, Saquon Barkley, he's a once-in-a-generation type back. You pair him up with, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown outside and Jalen Hurts. And no one really even talks about their defense. They have the number one ranked defense in the NFL. They gave up a little bit over 17 points a game. But because of how special Saquon Barkley and that offense is, you really don't even talk about the defense as much, and they're the best in the league. So Philly's a dangerous team, and, I'm actually picking them to win. I think that they have enough firepower, even though I love Mahomes and I think it's his time and we're in the Mahomes era. Well, in the Brady era, a guy snuck a couple Super Bowls in, here and there as well, and I think this will be one that Philly gets in, under Patrick Mahomes' watch.
Oh, yo. Here we go. What is Buffalo doing? Like, how bad did Buffalo get out-coached yesterday? Like, that he's going to probably blitz there. Yeah, he hasn't blitzed all day, so you can't come up with a better play for Josh Allen than, hey, scramble around and throw up a prayer. And then, okay, so let's start with that. Like, Darian, you got it. Like, it's all hands on deck here. Like, this is it. You got to be prepared for a blitz there, don't you?
Absolutely. And I mean, you could hear Tony Romo on the, on the commentary, and you just know Spags, like, the type of D coordinator he is. He's going to pressure you. There's no way he'll let you sit back and be able to just try to pick apart and find your guy. There's no way. So every play you call in that situation, the very first thing you have to be prepared for is blitz. And where's my hot read? And where do I go in case I'm outnumbered? And, you wouldn't think that a corner blitz is coming at a time like that. You would think because, he's a heavy linebacker, up the middle blitz guy. So great job by him of switching things up and blitzing the corner on that play. But if you're the Buffalo Bills, you have to have a blitz throw ready and something ready where you can get rid of the ball. Now, even with that being said, Josh Allen makes a play, and the tight end doesn't come up with a catch. So Josh Allen did all he could, and he bought himself some time.
Mm-hmm.
He knew he had a receiver downfield, and he made a play, and he gave his receiver a chance. So,
but
even though it didn't look good to us at home, I mean, these are NFL guys, and he made a play, and you got to come down with that catch.
Okay, as a quarterback that's played in huge games, Josh Allen looked so puckered up early in that game. He looked like a rookie. The nerves. He was overthrowing guys. The reads weren't there. Were you shocked? And did you see a little bit of nerves or a lot of nerves from him early?
I did. And, before the game, there was a lot of talk about Josh Allen and how he's not really putting the ball in harm's way this year. He's being so much smarter with his decisions and, protecting the ball. And then in the first quarter, he's just, I think, the Kansas City Chiefs defensive backs got their hands on 2 balls back-to-back and, nearly picks. So, yeah, you could just feel like the atmosphere was a little bit too much. Maybe it's the aura of Pat Mahomes and being in Arrowhead Stadium and knowing that you have to make so many plays in that place to beat that team. Maybe the pressure got to him a little bit. But, just like all good quarterbacks, he settled in. He made some huge throws. He made some great decisions. And he put his team in an opportunity. He gave them an opportunity to win, and that's all you can ask for. So even though he started off slow, he showed the fight and the grit that you would want to see from a franchise guy, and he gave his team a chance in a tough environment.
So one of the things that I didn't like, especially in the first half, because you didn't have to be chasing points, when they did score, they're going for 2, kick the singles, because if this comes down to a close game, 1 or 2 points is probably going to be the difference, and which it would have ended up being, because even if Josh Allen, if we're being honest, drove the field and got them into field goal range and they kick a field goal, I still, if they go to overtime, have a feeling that Patrick Mahomes and those guys just do what they do and they go down and they win. And it's too bad that I had mentioned this earlier when Barney and I were chatting, that Josh Allen may go down as a Dan Marino, really good guy, good statistics, just may never, ever win one. It's not his fault. He's in the Patrick Mahomes era. And maybe that is going to be his kind of kryptonite. Barney's dropping his head. That's so funny.
I don't want to say that about him. I don't want to compare him yet because he's getting there, right? Like every year he's putting that team in position to play deep in the playoffs, and he's doing that. So, I mean, with a break here or there, I think they'll make it. I think, like I said, when Brady played, a couple guys squeezed out a couple Super Bowls, and I think, like I said, Philly will get this one, and I think down the road, Buffalo will break the curse, and Josh Allen will, before that new stadium is up, he'll help out that city for sure.
Okay, what do you think that we are going to see coaching changes on the Buffalo side? And then secondly, why do they have to make everything so difficult? How come everyone else can figure out this tush push or close reasonably, the same thing, but they can't do it. And it was Tony Romo, I think, that said he's going to sneak it to the left side. He sneaks it to the left side, and Kansas City knew it. Like, what? I don't understand. Like, are we going to see coaching changes, and why do they have to make everything so difficult in Buffalo?
You know what, man? It's so hard to get this, to be consistent in the NFL and to consistently have your team in the playoffs. So I'd be careful with just making coaching changes when, you're hot right now. You just lost a tough game, so you don't want to make any spur-of-the-moment decisions that could hurt your franchise. Like I said, it's hard to win, so I wouldn't look at any coaching staff changes in Buffalo. I think you just learn from your mistakes. And more importantly than anything, you need to win more games in the regular season. You need to try to get that AFC Championship game at home. The ghost of Patrick Mahomes in that place in Arrowhead, no one's going to win there. And, unless you're Brady. So if you can have a better regular season and win some more games and win the games you're supposed to win, then you can get that AFC Championship at home, and then you give yourself a better chance.
It's funny. I was reading this today. The only 2 quarterbacks to beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, Tom Brady, as you just mentioned, and one Joe Burrow. So, but Darian, I know we're 2 weeks out or 13 days out, New Orleans for the Super Bowl. With you being in Florida, I'm not sure if you're making a roadie. If you are, call it. We could probably get flights. I'm just putting it out there. Do you think now Kansas City, they're not the high-flying offense anymore? I know it's early for predictions, but do you think Kansas City can match the Philly firepower that they're putting up these days with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley?
I don't. I just think that the way Philly's running the ball now, their mentality, and just how special Saquon Barkley is, I'm not sure that Kansas City's built to just come from behind. And I think Philly will put so much pressure on that Kansas City defense to stop the run. And when you do that, you have two of the best receivers on the outside, and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So I just think that Philly is just, it's one of those issues where they'll look at their books at the end of the season and they won't worry about all the guys that they're paying because they'll have a Super Bowl. And, they went all in for this year. And I think it was a smart move because they're the most explosive offense that we've seen. And you just can't say enough about that defense as well. They don't get talked about. They have some of the best interior defensive linemen, especially with Jalen Carter. And, they're a great team overall. So I think this is their year, and it's their time to sneak in one of those Super Bowls in the Pat Mahomes era.
Okay, do you got one more, Matt?
Yeah, I 90% agree with Darian, but the only thing that I'm going to say is that a lot of people have counted out Chris Jones and the Kansas City defense. And is that him that they show when the national anthem plays with the tear running down his cheek all the time? That always gets me.
Yes.
That always gets me.
Yeah,
and then Chris Jones just goes on the field and wrecks defense and wrecks offenses. He just wrecks offenses.
Yes,
so
yes.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's still Kansas City, right? It's still the defending champs. They're fighting for history as well, the first team to ever win 3 in a row. So it's a lot at stake, and that's what makes this game so good. It's going to be one of the best Super Bowls we've seen in a while.
Okay, last question. What the hell is Jerry Jones thinking?
Hey, Darian Sandberg, don't poke him in the ribs.
Continuity. That's the only thing I can say is just continuity, man. He needs a coach that he can
manipulate,
coach over. We all know who the head coach is in Dallas, and it's not the guy on the sidelines on game day. It's Jerry Jones, and he runs the show. And every head coach he brings in, he's going to want to have his hand in the pot at all times, I don't want to use the word puppet, but it's kind of like a puppet, when you put your hand inside and he's talking for you. So that's what's going on here with the Schottenheimer hire. And, I don't like it. I thought he would go for a little, some younger blood and, start over a little bit, but it's hard to do that in Dallas. The fan base is just too rabid, and they're ready for wins now, and they have high expectations. So you can't really start over there.
Can we use the word marionette? Darian, thanks for battling through the cold again and hopping on.
No problem, guys.
Yeah, right on. We'll talk to you next Monday.